Hey. Welcome to another episode of Evolving Perspectives. My name is Matia Elise, your podcast host, and on this podcast, we dive deep into the stories of everyday people, discussing the hurdles they face and the triumphs they've achieved. We have real, raw conversations where we laugh, we cry, we uncover the incredible resilience within us all. From overcoming personal setbacks to navigating life's unexpected twists, each episode that you tune into is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to persevere and thrive. Tune in as we share moments of vulnerability, inspiration, and ultimately empowerment. Get ready to be uplifted and inspired as we showcase the unwavering strength of the human heart on Evolving Perspectives. Chime in. Hey. Welcome to another episode of Evolving Perspectives. My name is Matia Elise, your podcast host, and on this podcast, we dive deep into the stories of everyday people, discussing the hurdles they face and the triumphs they've achieved. We have real, raw conversations where we laugh, we cry, we uncover the incredible resilience within us all. From overcoming personal setbacks to navigating life's unexpected twists, each episode that you tune into is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to persevere and thrive. Tune in as we share moments of vulnerability, inspiration, and ultimately empowerment. Get ready to be uplifted and inspired as we showcase the unwavering strength of the human heart on Evolving Perspectives. Chime in. I am your host, Matia Elise, and I am excited yet again to have you all here with me. When I tell you I'm so happy about my guest for today, I feel like I'm repeating myself because I say that every single time because I get excited because the things that we share on this podcast are so good to me. It brings me so much joy, and just to know that people are willing to go on this journey with me and have taken my vision and been able to walk this with me has just been so rewarding and exciting. But my guest today, y'all already know how this goes. I always start my podcast with giving flowers, and I made up in my mind I was not going to cry during this session or this episode. My husband was already like, let me get my tissue because I already know I'm going to be crying. I'm not going to cry. I told myself that. But you know what? We never know what's going to happen. So we just going to go with the flow. But you know that I love to be able to start my podcast with giving flowers. And there really are no words that I can say that will really help me to describe the person that is going to be on my podcast today on this episode. To say this person is one that I love would be an understatement. To say that she has shown up for me in ways that she probably doesn't even realize that she has. The support, the love, the care, the concern, the sacrifice, all the things. Sometimes I think about my childhood, how I grew up. I was very sick. As a child, I suffered from asthma, terribly hospitalized asthma, and the sacrifices that she made just to support me in my health journey. We were going to naturopathic doctors when it wasn't even a thing. Doctors all over the DMV. The sacrifices, the things that she did to make sure I was good as a single parent, I could never, ever repay her. I could not. I'm so very thankful. So very grateful for what she is, what she does, how she loves on me, loves on my kids, loves on my husband, and loves our family so very hard. Today, I am honored, so very honored, to have my mom on this podcast. Y'all, she already asked me, y'all know people always like, what we gonna talk about? You already know. We have organic, genuine conversations that are authentic, and we just gonna chat today. I have no idea where this conversation is going to go, but what I do want you to know is put your seatbelt on, take a listen, take some time to process what's going to be shared. So I present to you all my mama, my girl. This is my ace in the hole. Mom, welcome to the stage.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I don't know how this is going to work out either because both of us are big crybabies, but we're going to try to be cool, and I'm going to try to got my tissue in my hand just in case I have to shed a few tears. But one of the things before we even get started, of course, my name is Joanne Talley. Well, most folks don't know, but at age 68, I got married. I was minding my business, and the Lord sent to me, Reverend Clarence Talley. And one of the things he always talks about is like, when you and Mattia get together, either you're crying or you're laughing. You can't even understand what you all are laughing or even crying about. All I know is you all are just laughing. And so I don't know whether I'm going to be laughing or whether I'm going to be crying today. But whatever it is, it's a good one. It's not a sad laugh, and it's not a sad cry. They're tears of joy. So thank you so much. So prayerfully, we'll get through this without us laughing through the whole thing. Right. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome. I'm so happy that you're on here. So, of course, I have a series of questions that I kind of prepare whenever I'm getting ready for these episodes. But I wanted to ask you well, of course, you've known me my entire life, duh. But like when I first told you that I wanted to start this podcast, like, what did you think about that? And then also, I wanted to ask you, like, with the episodes that you have listened to so far, what's your thoughts? Because, see, people can say, oh, girl, you doing good. We love this. But your mama will give you like that real raw. So now if she say something left, y'all, I'm going to edit it out. Not just playing. Now, I'm going to let y'all hear what she really has to say. So I want you to tell me what you think about the podcast so far, because I really want your honest opinion. I don't think I asked you, like, what with the episodes you've listened to, and from the time I told you I wanted to do this, what was your thought first on when I said I wanted to do this podcast?
Now, see, she started off already. She knows I'm 80 years old, and she has asked me 10 questions in one.
And only two, Mom. No, come on now.
Okay, I'll try to remember at least.
The first one, what did you think when I first told you I was going to do a podcast? What did you think?
I was like, oh my God, here she goes again. Mattia is she is a multitasker. And I might say some words that may not be in the dictionary, but don't worry about it. That's what we do. But anyway, I was like, what in the world is she going to do with this podcast? But after viewing, hearing the first podcast, here I go. I was so excited, and I'm like, okay, this is something, because Mattia she has a special anointing to pull the best out of each person. And she has a vision that God gave her years and years and years ago to reach the masses. And so that's what she does. So of all the things that she does that I'm so very proud of, I'm so excited to hear this podcast and to be a part of this podcast, because I believe that there are people out there who may not go to see a counselor, a therapist, I don't know what they call them nowadays, but they will be able to learn from true life experiences. And that's what I'm about. I'm very transparent in what I have gone through, because sometimes people think they don't want people to know their past. But our past can help someone along the way. Again, someone who may not be able to afford to go to a counselor. As African Americans, we kind of shy away from those things, but through this every day, I believe God uses ordinary people to do His will. And through this podcast, and not that I'm saying Mattia it's ordinary, because she is extraordinary. Those of you who know anything about her. But I'm just saying God will use ordinary people to do extraordinary things. So I was really excited about it, and so I listened, and I have listened to all but the last one. I think I haven't had time to do that because of my schedule, but I'm looking forward to each and every one. And so far, maybe I'm going overboard, but so far, every morning, every Monday morning, after my husband and I have our daily devotions, what do? We turn on Matia's podcast. And so that has been our, what is that word, mantra, a good word? But that's what we have been doing every Monday, and we look forward to doing that. So I'm so very happy, and I'm so very proud of, we call her Matia dear.
See, I just learned something new. That's what, if you know me, you know, like from a child, that's what the people call me, Matia dear. So y'all just learned something new. I just put that out there. But don't y'all start calling me out in public, okay? One of the things that I want to talk about, first of all, let me recap, because a few weeks ago, I was in Maryland visiting my family, and I end up going to this prayer breakfast with you and your friends, which was hilarious. That's a whole podcast in itself. Because let me tell you something, y'all want a good laugh? Hang around the people who are 60 plus, baby. Comedy show for what? Okay? You get that right for free. And we had a good time just kikiing up at that event. And one of the things that one of your friends brought to me, she said, "Oh, I loved when you and your mom went on that trip last year. It was, oh my gosh, I love seeing those pictures and all the things. And you all did the pajama night." And for those of you all who will listen to this who don't follow me on social media, last year my mom and I went to a retreat in the mountains of Georgia. It was amazing. It was hosted by the Chit Chat ladies, led by Tanisha Barbara. Phenomenal event. We absolutely had a great time. And my mom and I had the privilege to leading like one of the discussions with the ladies. And it was such a great time because, of course, we laughed through the whole thing because that's just what we do. But I really believe that we're in a day and age where there needs to be the words that came to me was a cross pollination. And what I mean by that, a cross pollination of generation, because I feel that sometimes growing up, and I can only speak for myself, growing up, and not my experience, but just from friends and people that you hear on the social media outlets and things, talk about how their grandparents or elderly people just say whatever they want and blah, blah, blah. And they were so offended and all the things. And so I do believe the elderly can say things that are not always packaged the right way. However, at the core of it all, their intent was right, was good. They wanted the best for us. They may not have said it the right way, but they did want the best for us. And I think that oftentimes we have misunderstood really the value that the elders of our community bring to our lives, because there is something to be said about the experience that you encounter and you go through in life that, to me, to be honest, no book, no school, no TV show or therapist could tell you.
Amen.
It is something that only a person who have lived through life and lived through situations can really give you insight on. And so I really feel like it's so important that we foster great relationships through with the generations, right? There are some things that I do think that young people can bring to the elderly as well, or to the older generation.
Right. I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Because there are things that, the older people may have done, they're doing, that could be done better. And it's the technology and the nuances of the new things that are coming up that could enhance their lives, And so it is this cross-pollination that I really think, needs to happen. And I also feel like sometimes it's just conversations that need to be had. Like,
yes,
there are times when we know that the grumpy old aunt is just grumpy, and no matter what you say to them, it's not gonna go over well. But I think that we need to be able to start having what I like to call those courageous conversations. Like,
Yes.
I know your intention, was, Mattia, you're a mother now. You don't need to be trying to do all the things. Instead of you saying it like that, maybe it's like, Mattia, sometimes priorities are not always in the right place. So maybe you have to shift your priorities, or maybe it's just a different season, or maybe you embrace this. So it's just a way that we have to learn to communicate, that both of us, and I would encourage you all to do that as well, because even when I think about, like, with my mom at this point, she is the matriarch of our family. And the things that she knows, even down to, let's be real, the recipes that you have that's in your head, that's not on paper. If we don't have those conversations and all we're doing is stopping by, getting the plate and keeping it moving, number one, we're not really fostering a great relationship. And not that we do that, but I'm just saying in general. But we're losing that connection. So I think even in those things, it's important. And I want you all to also consider that when you think about your family dynamic or even your friend group, because sometimes you may not have those family members that you can glean from. But maybe it's a group of elderly people in your church or in your social group or in your social club or whatever. Really maybe creating a group where you all can have those conversations where that wisdom is imparted. What do you think?
I'm thinking of the song, I think, by Kirk Franklin, where it says, I need you and you need me to survive.
That was Hezekiah says.
Hezekiah, whoever it was. But I'm thinking about that. Old people, they don't have to know all the details. But anyway, well, whoever wrote that song, I want to give them their accolades. I need you and you need me to survive.
That's right.
Anyway.
That's right.
And so I believe that the younger people need the elderly to survive. And we don't sometimes, as the elders, we just think those young people think they know it all. Mm-hmm. But that's not true. Sometimes they may have book knowledge, but we have wisdom. We have what I call God knowledge. Not to say that our young people don't have God knowledge, but they seem to lean more to what the book knowledge and even, should I say, social media knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so we need each other to survive for real. That's not just a cliche. And so I'm very much in agreement with the elders and the younger people coming together. Oftentimes, the churches will have services. I'm a pastor, so you may think, she's always talking about church, but that's who I am.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes churches will have services and they'll have conferences for the youth, and they'll say, well, the youth don't want the older people there. Well, it's not totally their decision, because they don't have the wisdom to realize that they need some information. They need the wisdom of the elders. Now, I'm not saying have as many elders there as the young people, but we do need some elders who have been through some things and who are willing to be transparent. As I said earlier, I am very transparent about my former life. I was going to say my past life. But I'm still here, y'all. But before I quote unquote got saved.
Not sure it was reincarnated.
But yeah, so it's very important that the young people, and then we as elders, we have to also gain the trust of our young people.
True.
Because oftentimes I think we forget what we went through.
Right.
We may not have so much of the drugs that's available now, but we sure had some wine, sporty yodi, drink that wine. Amen. And so we had some other vices that we used to do. So don't be so hard on our young people.
That's right.
And so that's my testimony. And I was like, you having a youth thing? Invite me, because they may not like it, but when I get there and say what I have to say and I be transparent, they'll be saying, oh, wow, I thought all old people would say, we've been through some stuff, and we done some things that we were not very proud of. But for the grace of God, we are here and we are alive to tell about it. Amen.
That's true. But I feel like you are just in a different space. You know what I mean? Because you're willing. a lot of people, and I think that's why there has been this divide, because people who are younger do feel like the older people talk to them from a hard, stern, judgmental perspective, and it's not in a loving, open way. And so not only does it need to be a cross pollination between the younger and older generations, but also even in your groups, in your circles, even having conversations like among your friends, like, okay, we want to embrace the younger people. We don't want to feel left out either, because I think that, and this is just, I could be wrong. I feel like sometimes with older people, they feel like, you kind of put them to the side. They're not relevant anymore. That what you have to say is not, people don't want to hear what they have to say. So they just kind of put them. But I think that even among your group or your circle of friends, that it's important for you all to have conversations like, okay, we want to engage with the young people. Mm-hmm. What is a way that we can talk to them that they would be receptive? So it's not just
That's good.
the older people and the younger people, but it's like, okay, y'all, hey, hey sis, in y'all circle saying, okay, what is it that we can do to engage with them? Okay, we know that the young people love going to brunch. We know that's their thing. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're doing a brunch where you all invite, and it could be with, like I said, it could be your church group, it could be your social group, it could be just in your family, where the elderly people or the older people invite the younger people out to say, you know what, I just want us to be able to come in and have a conversation. Not even nothing where it's about you judging me or a particular topic, but let's just come together, because I think oftentimes we don't realize how much we have in common with a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You automatically assume, they don't have nothing to say, they just gonna give me da-da-da. And only to realize, even if it's just a commonality of, you had your child when you were 16. Oh, I was too. Or I got married when I was 20. Oh, I was, even in those type of things, and you would be surprised how much you have in common with someone, even when you don't think there's any type of commonality, I guess, if that's the word. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's very true. Again, because I think once we as elders get saved, if you will, the young people see us and think that we've been saved all our lives. And then on the other hand, the elders want folks to think that they've been saved all their lives. And they just don't have this transparency. Yes, we were not happy about the mistakes that we made. And let people know, yes, my first child was out of wedlock, and they was like, what? Pastor, yes, I was. I haven't been saved. I haven't been a pastor all of my life. And so we don't want to look at that. We were looking, I guess this is kind of a sidebar. My husband likes to look at this. It's something about Sheldon. It's one of those sitcoms. And this little boy is just so smart. And his son, his older brother, was asking his mom, said, Mom, were you pregnant, when you and dad got married? And she was like, no, where'd you get that from? Well, young Sheldon did the math. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. But again, I use that as an example to say that children nowadays, they are not like we were, except whatever our parents, told us. They're smarter, and we have to be, yes, I made a mistake. All of us make mistakes. Yes, absolutely. I did something. And so again, is back to that transparency. And that's kind of that's what I'm all about. My husband always tell me, you just tell too much. But I learned a long time ago that nothing is a secret, that however, at some point, it's got to come out. And once you tell it, you get it straight from the horse's mouth.
That's right.
Not from some gossip or anything like. And don't be ashamed, of your past mistakes. That's where that wisdom piece comes in. We learn through our mistakes, and we don't do the same, maybe this isn't a good word, but this same dumb stuff over and over. We're supposed to learn from our experiences and share our experiences. And I think when we do that and we're honest, because young people know when you're telling the truth and when you're lying.
That's true.
And so if we are honest with our young people, I know what you're going through. I may not have been smoking drugs, whatever, but guess what? I used to smoke cigarettes. Addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
What it is.
That's right.
So don't think you were so great just because you smoked cigarettes and the Lord delivered you, and now your children on a heavier, something that's more serious. But addiction is addiction. Doesn't matter what that thing is. So that would be my response.
Yeah, that's so good. I do want to shift a little bit because one of the things that I have really start appreciating the more now that I've gotten older is the value that you bring to my life from a parenting perspective. And what I mean by that is, I remember when some of you all, if you know me, you've been following me, you know that I've had some challenges with my son, and he has some diagnoses. One being ADHD, one being level 1 autism, things like that. And before we knew really what was going on, he was having a lot of challenges at school, and to the point I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown myself. Like, it was a whole situation, and I didn't know probably my head from a hole in the wall. I was going through tremendously. And I remember, I don't even know if you remember this, but when we were in the thick of things, you sent me this, like, not, I don't say it's a meme, but like the words or whatever that's like people post on social media. And it says something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing, it says something along the lines of parenting. One of the hardest parts of parenting is knowing that your child needs help and there's nothing that you can do about it. And oh my God, it was so hard because you were right there with me and still have been right there with me throughout this entire journey. And there are things as a parent that you see in your kids that you want to fix, you want to help, you want it to be gone. And it's like, if I could take on their burden, I would. And it was like and it's like, you sent me that, but it's like I heard your voice in it. Like, I wish there was something more that I could do. And so that was so comforting to me.
Wow.
Not that you didn't show me, because you did, but just knowing that. And I think sometimes, even as we go through things in life, we often have these expectations of people. And the reality is, number one, sometimes people don't know how to show up for you. They don't know what's best, and it's not because they don't desire to be there for you, but they don't even know what that looks like. And there are certain situations where they really truly feel like their hands are tied. And it's like, well, what you want me to do? Like, you know what I mean? And I think often that I've heard that so many times, even from, of course, me dealing with so many clients over the years, where people will say, oh, my mom wasn't there for me. My parent wasn't there. This person wasn't there for me. And what I've learned throughout the years is that people show up the best way they know how.
That's true.
And even though oftentimes it does not meet our expectations, for them, they did the best they knew. And it may be that I don't know what to say, so I'm not going to say nothing at all. Or I'm going to just back up because I don't know. But again, it goes back to those conversations, like, and even when we talk about people in their grief journey, I say oftentimes that you need to ask the person, or number one, let them know that you are concerned, and then asking them, what does support look like for you? How can I walk this road with you?
Yeah.
Because we think, in our community, especially when it comes to grief, I know I've deviated a little bit, all we want to do is bring a bucket of chicken over and some cold Pepsis. And we think that's good, which I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying.
Yes. There's more to it than that.
It's more to it than that. A lot of times you would be, number one, people are going to be like, oh, sometimes people don't even know what to ask for. But the fact that you even asked, what does that look like for you? How can I support you through this journey? What does that look like? And so I say the same thing. Like I said, you were right there with me. I never felt like, oh, I'm on this. And it wasn't just you. I mean, our family has been extremely supportive throughout this whole process. So I never felt alone. It was just my own journey of just accepting this was just, like they say, this just was my lot and is my lot. And just taking each day and each moment, one moment at a time. And I am just grateful for that. But I want you to talk to us about parenting adult children, because I think that we often get a lot of advice on when people have young kids. Because if I went out when my kids was young, see, I gave them a spanking. Or when my kid was this, I ain't let them eat this or drink that. But when you get to a point in your life that you are of age where you now have adult children, what are some things that you would say helped you on your journey of being a parenting adults, and now you got grandchildren that are adults what that having kids. So I mean, you got a few generations that we could talk about that probably could be its own podcast within itself. But I think that's an untapped conversation, parenting adult children. And I never forget one of my friends, we were talking, and because her kids are now like not even middle school, high school, college. And I was like, oh my God, this and that, going through all the things that they go through with puberty and changes and all that. And she was like, Latia, I'll go back to them being 5 any day. I thought it was hard then, but parenting adult kids is on another level. And so I'd like to know what you think about that, or maybe something you could share that's been helpful to you throughout your journey of parenting adult children versus when they were kids, versus when we were kids, rather.
Well, I remember, I'm sure Mattia has talked about Granny Brooks, who was my mom, and everybody called her Granny, whether it was aunt, uncle, kid, friend, or whoever. And she used to say that with little kids, they're little problems. When they become adult kids, they're big problems.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that in a negative way. It's just that as we grow older, just as we grow, the problems grow.
That's so true.
And as a parent, you have to share, first of all, your experiences. We also know that each child, I don't care how much you look alike, whether they're twins or whatever, they are individuals. Of course, I have 2 birth children, both girls, 16 years between the 2 of them. And it's almost like, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, almost like night and day. My older daughter is very kind of quiet and very personal and, keep her business, kind of to herself. And, sometimes you have to kind of pry what's going on. You have that gift, we call it in the church, the gift of the discerning of spirits. And so if you have relationship, if you have the same spirit, we're talking about Christian spirit, you can feel, and it's not just with your children. I may have birthed those 2 children, but let me tell you, I have more extended children than I can even call. And so they're my children. And so I parent them, as well. Some of them can't talk to their parents or their mother, like they will come and tell me stuff. And sometimes, I wish they hadn't said that. But I'm here to help and to be a blessing to whoever. And so one of the things is that you will know when something is going on. Like I was saying with my older daughter, she may not say anything, but I can tell in my spirit, the Lord will say what's going on over there, what's going on. Or if I see her and she's not talking or she's not responding, and then first of all, I pray about it. Okay, and then we need to talk about it. Then I can tell you my experience. This is what I did. This is what I would do. One of the things I'm reminded of, my husband is a retired mental health counselor. And I think one of the things, I think I can quote this correctly, is that the only good advice is advice that's asked for. And sometimes our children may be in need, and sometimes they may feel that, well, I don't want to worry my mom because,
True.
I don't want to bother her with my problems. But because of your experience and because you have a relationship with your child, you know something. So you might as well tell me. I might not know exactly, but when you have that gift of the discerning of spirits, then we know that there's something wrong. Now let's get to Mattia, dear. But Terry dear is just, she's like me. She just gives it all out before you even ask. Look, I got a problem here, and this is what I'm going through in between the tears, that is, and the laughter. And so we thank the Lord that on the spiritual level, whether you know it or not, Mattia is a minister of the gospel.
Yep.
Amen. And so we kind of, it's on kind of a different level. Now, let me tell you, my daughter Yodi, she is saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Spirit. She don't get me wrong, that she is saved. But Mattia is more open. Whatever's going on, when she call, or sometime in my spirit, I'm just waiting for the call. Okay, what's going on now? And again, we are dealing with some, situations in our family, especially with, our grandchild that's really like, what is going on? What are we? And so, Lord, how do we handle this? And of course, first of all, we pray. And then we're going to talk about it. Well, what do you think? How would you, Matilda said, well, how would you handle it? What do you think I should do? And so that's the thing of it. You have to have this open relationship with your mother. If anybody is out there, and I think Mattia might have addressed this in one of her podcasts, is that, if you have unforgiveness, if you are not in right relationship with your parent, it's time for you to do that now. Put that spirit of pride away.
Yes.
You have to have forgiveness, for the Bible tells us that, unforgiveness is not of God, and you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven as long as you do that. So first of all, you have to get right with your parents, and then you'll be able to come to them openly. And don't be ashamed, if you're going through something, if you have done something that you think your parent is not happy over, put that pride away, because we're going to love you anyway. You see how those athletic folks, when I'm going to see, hey, Mom, this is for you. That is the same way we feel. I don't care what you've done. If you've been, they say, from the uttermost to the guttermost, if you're down in there, guess what? We're going to love you. And we would rather you come and talk to us about it first.
Yeah.
So that we can see what is the game plan. And so I think that's the first thing. And of course, I've been very open again and transparent with my children about my life, because I ain't been saved I've been in church all my life, but I ain't been saved all my life. And so when I tell you, this is what I went through, and people respond. If you have been through something, people will respond. If you say, well, this is what I would do, well, how you know? You've never been that way. And so when you know that this is what I had to do, this is what I went through, and this is how God brought me out, they would better understand. So hopefully that
that was good.
That addressed that question.
Yeah, it was. I do feel like, and only because, again, from experience and just speaking to people, because people, I will say, which is something I'm extremely proud of and very grateful for, is the relationship that you and I have. And even when I, post pictures and things like that on social media with the two of us, or things that we do together, like, I genuinely enjoy the time that we spend together. Now, on the other side of that, there are people who may have a parent who is not open to that. You know what I mean? Who may not be open. They may not be in a space, whether it's mentally, whether they're having physical challenges, health challenges, whatever, where they can support their child, even if you are an adult. So what I would say is, if you're saying, oh, Reverend Joanne, that sounds amazing. Mattia, that sounds great. But my parent is just not that person. My parent is very difficult. They're very difficult to talk to, all the things. What I would say is, number one, you give yourself and give that parent grace.
Yes.
Because oftentimes they are doing the best they know how. And sometimes, as we get older and life changes, and like I say, health changes and things happen, and it does make you a little cantankerous, as my grandmother used to say, and not always open to conversations or just having a good, amicable relationship. And so I would say, if it means that I'm just going to meet with you and come by your house once a month because that's all I can take, don't be upset about that because it's not packaged the way that you think.
Yes.
But what I would say is be open to whoever, and when I say whoever, not any random person, but whoever God may bring into your life. Because although your birth parent may not be able to support you in the way that you need, I truly believe that God will put people in your life.
Yes, he will.
To be what you need for them. And so, and I know that for a fact because I think about our life and my life and our life together, and how many people, like you said, you have parented over the years. And even it's almost like in our blood. Like that's,
Yes.
we always say, where we get these people from? Like, who are they? Where your mama at? Like, it's a running joke in our family.
Yeah.
And like, just in, of course, all laughs and jokes, because I mean, truly, it'll be like somebody. I remember me growing up, and I was in middle school, high school. My mom used to work at Bowie State University, and I would come home, and it would be some random student at our house. I'm like, who is that? Why are these people here? Well, their housing ain't right, and they got their parents didn't have no money to send them until they could get their housing straight. So I mean, it was always, and of course nowadays you have to be skeptical about those type of things, but just the spirit behind that. I really believe, and at that moment, that was a season that you were in. I mean, you continue to be in that season, but for that person, you were the person assigned to them in that moment and in that time to support them when they needed the most. And so I say that to you. Oftentimes we think like, well, I don't have that in a parent. My mom ain't like that. I can't. And then we automatically are just shut off to any person who could give you that type of maternal guidance. But I believe that if you seek those things out, because y'all love putting some on a vision board and saying a mantra and an affirmation, go ahead and add that. It ain't just about material things. It's not just about the house, the car, and all those things. Let me get a Louis bag. But it's about, you know what? I'm going to put on my vision board, I want seasoned women in my life, or seasoned men or wise people in my life, to be able to pour into me and to fulfill or to feel that part of my life that I feel is maybe lacking or I don't have enough support in. And so I would encourage you all to do that too. And I mean, like, it's like, okay, I may not be this, and this. I may not have this, and this, but it's still somebody out there who could fill in the gap for you.
Right, because even the word says that the older women are to teach the younger women.
Absolutely.
And then he also say, ask, and knock, and it shall be given to you. So if you have not had that, that mother figure for whatever, because we are what my pastor used to say, my Reverend Wilson used to tell us who we are because what we've been exposed to, what we're taught, and what we learned. So if our home life was not a loving, hugging, and happy, then guess what? Then that's what you've been exposed to. That's what you've been taught. That's what you've been learned. A lot of times that even, goes toward those of us who may be on, public assistance, This is the way I grew up, and this is all I know. And so I don't know that I can do better. I don't know that there's help out there for me to get training and to, be on my own self-sustaining. And so that's why it's important for you. It may not be there, but you have to seek. You can't just stay there, in your state of stuckness, if you will. You have to do some work. Anything that's worth getting, you have to work for. So don't get complacent and say, oh, well, I don't know no better. Or this is, no. There is somebody, there is an older woman, there is an older man. And we're not necessarily talking about somebody 60, 70, 80. I'm talking about someone you may be 20. Maybe you can get a 35-year-old.
That's right.
That's what I'm saying. We
right.
think of old, we always think of old in age. That's not necessarily true. I used to tell folks all the time, I say, I always keep some folks younger than me in my circle, because I don't want all my folks to be gone and I ain't even got nobody carrying my caskets. I got to have some young folks around me. And so that's kind of where we are. So always keep some older people in your circle. Keep some younger people in your circle. Have a variety.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we do get older, all we have is old people, and then folks start dying off, and then we get depressed, and then we think we're not useful. No, get a couple of people. That's why you
Yeah.
gotta stay in contact with those grandchildren and those great grandchildren. Yeah, if we have that privilege, we can treat them a little differently than we did our children,
Oh my
because
gosh,
we want somebody around. That's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly.
So let me not get off.
Stay on track, sis.
Yes, I'm trying to stay on track.
No. You're right. Oh, that was good. I think that is good. And it's funny that you say that because, and this thing, I know y'all will hear me talk about, of course, the funeral home a lot, or the funeral home life a lot, because y'all know that, my husband and I own a funeral home. And so one thing that we often say when we have somebody who is like 80 plus, we're always like, oh, it probably won't be a big crowd. Because the reality is, if you've reached that age, most of your friends and people you would have associated with are no longer here.
Or sick.
Or they're
sick.
somewhere. You know what I mean? So, I mean, unless you just come from a really big family,
Yeah.
a lot of times, those services tend to be small because you just don't have all your people are gone on.
Yeah,
so
be friends with your grandchildren's friends. Yeah, bring them
that's
along.
so true. And you've done an excellent job with that. You friends with with everybody. So I want to shift a little bit, and we're coming to a close because I normally like to keep this. I don't like to go over an hour or so, but I did want to ask you a few questions before we depart.
Okay.
So this is one question that I want to ask you. I have about 4 or 5. So this is the one question I'm going to ask you. The first one is, what has been the best and worst parts of getting older?
Worst part of getting older is every day there's another aching pain. I am blessed because I will be 81 years old in 2 months. Mm-hmm. And I can say, not with bragging, but I take no medication.
Yes.
Except for vitamins. I take one a day vitamins.
That's right.
I have that. And so I have been pretty healthy doing these 80 years, but I'm telling you, now my ankle is hurting and my knees are hurting and my head is hurting, but not enough, that I need to be having knee surgery or ankle surgery or like that. But I think you're more, and then you're not, your mind, people tell me I've been like an energizer bunny. Sure. And so now my mind is telling me I need to do this and this, but my body is saying, not so fast, sister. Mm-hmm. You need to slow it down. And again, it's okay to say no. It's okay, which is one of the hardest things to say, that I'm tired. I can't do that. So that has been I guess, the down part. But the best part, you get all of these perks, y'all. You got all of these discounts for senior citizens. You have all these discounts for senior citizens.
She ain't never lied.
And then another thing is some senior citizens don't call this a perk, but when you go places, people, ma'am, can I open the door for you, ma'am? Would you like to sit down? Back in the day, that was something that you automatically did out of respect, but you don't get that. But when you go someplace and, of course, and now we have a lot of folks from other countries and they say, Mom, how you doing, Mom? Oh, come on in, And so that part I have received, more and more respect. And I think this might make me cry. The thing that I appreciate that's happy is that so many young people honor me. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful for that. So, yeah.
That was so good. I mean, now I ain't gonna lie. When I tell you everywhere we go, I got a senior citizen discount. Y'all do a percent. Oh, I'm like, oh my God, man, this 5%. Let's go.
I get my perk.
I know that's right. And I'll be right there where I'm like, I'm her helper. What I get. It's like, ma'am, you ain't old enough. That was good. Okay, so the next question I wanted to ask you, what is the one thing that you want us to remember after you are no longer here?
Okay. Well, I guess there's so many, but I believe in, whenever I do preach a sermon, homegoing sermon, my key word is leaving a legacy.
Yes.
And the legacy that I like to leave, and I'm so grateful and thankful, is family gatherings.
Yes.
Every Sunday, I don't care what's going on, my children, my great, and Lottie Dottie, and everybody just want to come and sit at my table.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoy, cooking and just family fellowship. That is, when they sit around, you remember grandma? She old. They say and tell everything. I want them to be talking about that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's my thing, that the legacy is the love that we share,
Yes.
for family.
Yes, I love that. I mean, matter of fact, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was at a service with my husband the other day, and that was one of the things that I shared with the crowd there was that oftentimes when we think about legacy, we often associate that with material things like I've left you this and I've left you that. But there are certain things that money just cannot buy. And it's the love that we share and those experiences and those memories that will be with us literally till the day we close our eyes.
Yes.
And so that to me is just priceless. Is to say we have, because what that looks like to me is it's not just about you we coming together, we eating every week at your table, but it's about we've made a commitment to not only just sit around, of course, and chit chat, but we've made a commitment to honor you in a way, to support you, to let you know how much we love and care about you, that we're not so busy with life that you're not important enough for us to pause. But it also speaks to we've dedicated time to commune with one another.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And we've also been able to share and glean in those moments because we've had conversations around the table that have been very deep. And we've also had conversations that have been very light and joyful. Like, it's just a moment for us to recap what happened during our week. Somebody's getting a job, we're celebrating that. Somebody got a raise on their job or whatever the thing is. We're there to celebrate each other in those moments. So for me, it's so much more than us just being able to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is a different recipe. You didn't do it like this last time. What you put in it different? You know, so I'm taking those mental notes. And so Brian, my husband, always is like, when I'm cooking, he's always like, oh my gosh, I'm just so thankful for your mother and for Granny Brooke. Food is food. Oh my goodness. And so even when I talk to my daughter, like she's wanting to now start cooking, and I always say to her, like she's trying to cook and she walking off and stuff. And so like you will always tell me, like, Matia, when you're cooking, you are in the moment. Like you need to be cooking with love. Like allow the dish to speak to you. Like you're tasting as you go along. You're watching and making sure that's a skill and an art. You know what I mean? That's not just I'm gonna throw some chicken in a air fryer and walk off. Not to say that I don't do that because I do. I mean, but certain meals, it's spend time, and then that way, even when people eat it, they can feel the love. That's because they know the time and effort you put into. So it's all the things that for me is so much more than us just coming around and eating a meal. So that I just had to add that little part on there. So the next question is, I have a few more. The next question is, what do you wish you had done that you put off or you never did?
Oh, wow. I don't even know about that because a lot of people have these visions of traveling to these foreign countries or whatever. But I think right now, I can't say that there's anything special the only thing that I really think about it, this is probably part of another financial situation. Back some years ago when I quit my good government job making good money back in those days, I drew out, or they sent me all of my retirement money, and I had a good time. I mean, I traveled, I went, I paid for other people's whatever. And now that I'm older, my regret is that I did not have someone to say, look, you're not used to, because I grew up in a very poor, family, and we didn't go anywhere, no vacations, no, that's a whole nother story too. And so when I had this money, it seemed like a lot. And before I knew it, it was all gone. And so now at this age, when you think that you should be living, oh, this is a good life, and I'm living a good life. There's nothing that I don't want, but I just don't have the, yeah, because it's almost like don't say that you want something or you need something before you know it. Somebody has sent it to you through Amazon somewhere. I did not have the financial knowledge, and I don't have the savings. When I do something or have to go someplace, I have to really say, now, can I afford this? And that should not be my lot. Age 80, I should be able to do. These are my golden years, and I should not have to like, oh well, I really can't go. Because if I tell somebody financially, you just say, what? You should have this, and I don't. And so I think because I wasn't financial, I don't want to say financial savvy, because back in those days, African Americans, when we grew up, you only had nothing. And so when you got a little money, you spent it all, and we still do it today.
I was about to say that's
You know,
you still doing that.
so I'm praying that if you don't remember anything else during this conversation, that I don't care how less it is, put something aside for later and get you a financial. You don't have to get a professional, but get someone who can help you along to, keep that budget. So of all my life, during my life, that I believe is the one thing that I can regret, that I did not. I wasn't a good steward of my finances, and so
I appreciate your transparency and your honesty with that, because I think, again, that is not a conversation that people have. They're not honest with themselves, and they can't teach you what they do not know. You know what I mean? You just didn't grow up with parents who were financially savvy enough to be able to say, okay, if you get this, because all they really knew themselves was poverty. And so they can't teach you what you don't know, what they don't know. And so, like you said, you finally got to a place where you were like, oh, okay, I'm making some money. Oh, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not having that financial education to educate yourself, or somebody giving you education or knowledge to say, okay, this is the way you need to invest the money. Yes, it looks like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, you want to set yourself up for success. So like you said, you don't have to do. And I mean, I must say that even though you may not have done all the right things, because we all have areas in our life that we could tighten up. You are not the only one. There's people right today, who are still not doing what they need to do as far as a budget and financial stability, having financial stability and all the things, because they on this whole, I'm gonna live my life and deal with it on the back end. And so, like you said, if there's nothing else that has been said, is to get you a financial advisor, get you a planner, somebody who can at least help you, even if it's something minimal that you're putting to the side, so that, when you are 60, 70, 80 years old, you're not in this thing with like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But I mean, I must say that thank God and thankfully, you do have family and friends, and you have us who we ain't gonna let you go without. So that ain't gonna ever be a question. So she goes and does what she wants to do. So that's not.
I say that I'm not late on paying any of my bills. All of those things. I just don't have that, what we call the overflow. I've always been a giver, and of course that's part of my whatever situation I'm in, but I don't want for anything, so I'm good.
You've shared with us some really, really good information, and like they say, you was dropping some gems. The last question I do want to ask, because this conversation has been so rich and so good, and just like I said, just talking about how we can cross-pollinate the generations and being able to learn and glean from one another. And so I would say, from your perspective, the last question that I would like to end with is, how do you think we can support older women so that they don't feel left out or excluded?
I think because we come from the Stone Age, if you will, the main thing I believe is to use the telephone and give them a call, not a text. And I know this may sound cliche, but not a text, not an email, But, even if you send them a card, just a plain old card, thinking about you, because again, we come from the Stone Age. So we still believe in cards. We still believe in letters. We still believe in, yes, I do have a land phone and I have a cell
Yes, you do.
phone. And I'm thankful that my children and my extended children, they call me. Somebody calls me every day. Just thinking about you, seeing how you doing. I'm fine, good. Hang up. You don't have to have a long conversation, but just that personal voice. And sometimes with all of this social media and everything, sometimes as older people, we don't hear anybody's voice. So just to hear a human voice and not just the bill collector calling or the spam calling. I think that's why I know we got to wrap this up. But I think that's why so many elders get involved in these scams, because they are just hurting to hear a voice, somebody to care about them. And so they hear this scam and they say, "Ooh, somebody's calling me, somebody's old." And so we just jump into it. And so that would be my wrap-up answer.
Oh, that was so good. One of the things that my goal with this podcast has always been to shed light in places that people, or in areas that people may not even think about or consider. And that's something that I have never even thought about, even though of course, I'm one of the people who call you all the time. But for other people, you know what I mean? I never thought about it from that perspective. Like, they do get caught up. And I mean, even now, like, y'all will say, "Oh, we signed up for this, we did it." I'm like, let me read over that paperwork. Let me see what it looked like. What does it say? Does it say this? What would you sign your name to? You know what I mean? Because I never thought about it like that. Like, they don't have, like with us, our generation and younger, of course, everything is done via text and via social media or a DM or Instagram message, and we're okay with that. But older people really do value just that human. I think we all value human contact, if we all be honest, for real.
That's the way God made us.
That's just the way God created it, is for us to be in community. But I think it's even more valuable and more important for us to make sure we reach out to our elderly community, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend of the family, a co-worker, whatever. Those things are so, so important to them. Thank you for shedding light on that, because I would have never thought about that. This conversation has been so good, so rich. I am so grateful that you all decided to join us today and listen in. My mom dropped so many gems. This is probably one of those episodes that you want to go back and repeat and listen to multiple times, because the way that she dropped some gems on us today has been so impactful and insightful. And I hope that you listen to this particular episode with a open mind and an open heart, to be receptive to however God wants to use this to bless your life, whether it means to reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while, whether it means to rekindle a relationship with a family member that has been severed, whether it means to, show up even for yourself and speak up and share with those that are connected to you and who love you what you need to be supported during different seasons of your life. Whatever that looks like, I hope that something that was shared today will impact you to be inspired, to be uplifted, to be encouraged, to be motivated, and to live a better life. And so I'm so grateful to have had you on the episode today to share this platform with my audience, with my listeners. I love you so very, very much. And we always say, like, I'll say, "Mom, I love you," and she always replies back, "I love you more." And we say that to each other. And I'm just so grateful and thankful to be able to spend this time with you and share this platform with you. It has been very special and very meaningful, and I will cherish it for every single day of my life. So thank you. Thank you again for tuning into Evolving Perspectives. Remember to like, subscribe, download, and share with your friends and family about our episode that releases every single Monday. And always remember to keep evolving. Until next time, be easy. Thank you again for tuning into Evolving Perspectives. Remember to like, subscribe, download, and share with your friends and family about our episode that releases every single Monday. And always remember to keep evolving. Until next time, be easy.